had worked with Miss Julia for some years.
Right.
She just gave me a snippet of her story, and I was like, oh my God. I never knew. So, Miss Julia, if you could just kind of share your story.
See, and then you never know, because I feel like I have this image of, everybody's like, oh, your life is great, everything's okay. You know how everybody has that look. Everybody thinks I call it your Facebook life. That your life is wonderful. So I'll start off with this. I was thinking about the I am. And so on my mirror, where you were talking about, I am beautiful, I am, smart, I'm intelligent. So mine just says, I am loved. And I'll tell you how that came to be, and then why, when people think how they see me or how people generally view me is because, and all of us who are into Christianity, spirituality, I always say I am that I am.
That's right.
And it may seem very full of myself, but it's the being that's in me that I accept that I am. This is who I am. And when I'm on, as Sean would say, I'm always on ready. I'm always on ready because I am who I am. This is. You're not going to see me act differently in the next. When you see me out, this is how I act. You see me at work, this is what I am. I am who I am. So, so talking about how do I get to I am loved, and how did I get to being I am who I am. So I feel like when Shelby brought this to me that the position of being nerdy gangster, because in my family I'm probably the least air quote gangster person of the group. They'd be like, what? Nerdy you got, gangster not so much. But for my story, and it started off, I'm actually my parents' only child together. I have siblings, but they each had, I'm the youngest, and they each had their own separate children. So I have steps and halves, or whatever you want to call them. But anyway, my mom passed away when I was 4 years old. So for a child, and especially a female child, having that same gender parent taken away, any psychologist will tell you the struggle that does for a child. But for me, I was just a child, and I lived with my dad. I had these siblings that lived with somewhere else, and I was just a girl who lived with my dad, and I grew up going through life. I knew that other people had like two parents, but it didn't really bother me because I was, who I was, and it was okay. At least I thought it was okay. Well, one day I went to Casper High School, and I was on the swim team, and I'm, going through your normal life, 13 years old, going through the changes of, puberty, life, growing up, feeling yourself, and all that. So I'm in practice, and I can always quote this day as if it happened the other day. So I was in practice, and my coach came up to me. We do 500, which is 20 laps of the pool when you first get in. He's like, you need to get out and you need to go to the office. And I'm like, okay, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know, you gotta go to the office. Okay. So get my stuff on, get ready to go to the office, and then my cousin's in the office, like, we gotta go. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, come on, we just gotta go. So we're driving McCass, and we're driving, in my spirit, I knew it. I was like, something is really, really, really wrong. Something's wrong. What happened? My cousin's probably about 10 years older than me. So I'm like, what's going on? She's like, just come on. So when we went into the emergency room, like, I felt like my spirit left me. And so I was like, where's my dad? So I'm 13, mind you. So I was like, where's my dad? And they're like, how the doctors take you in a little room. I'm like, oh, we're sorry. So my dad passed away when I was 13. So my dad being, for me, my connection, my life, that's who that's my family. Yeah. So I sat there with my aunt and my cousin, and I said, I want to go see him. Like, I need to see them. Like, no, you don't want to do that. And it wasn't a tragedy. It was like natural causes, but yet it was an event for me. Wow. So I'm like, no, I want to see him. And so finally they let me go see him. And so I stood there, and while it was upsetting, there was a certain level of peace. Mm-hmm. I was kind of angry a little bit, but kind of at peace. And I knew at that moment that there had to be something bigger than me operating in order for me to survive.
Wow.
So fast forward, went through high school, got into U of M, got a full scholarship to U of M because I knew for me to survive, Julie, you got to take care of yourself. And my dad, that was his life lesson. You always have to be in a position to take care of yourself. So graduated from Michigan, got to find a company that will pay for my master's degree because this is important. I got to eat, I got to survive. So, but all throughout that journey of even like going through school and not having, my aunt who raised me, I think got out of school or left school when she was like in the 6th grade. So she didn't have that base of education and moving forward, but I had it in me. It was just like this being that I am, was operating for me. And so got out of school, got that job, got that master's degree. Okay. Coasting. I'm young, I'm doing this thing, right? Then I get into this relationship and I have these kids. Now, anybody who knew me prior to being a mom, I never want a kid. My dream was to be like a gypsy traveling the earth, a nomad, just living life. So I'm like, wait, what do you mean? So then I had to have a conversation with the Lord, like, listen here. I'm not really like a mom. Like, that's not my thing. Like, I don't really do the mom thing, He's like, you're going to be fine. And it sure is enough, like, when I sat in the room with my dad, when I sat on my bed, because mind you, I have twins, so that's made it even worse. The same voice that gave me that peace, You're going to be this mom. We got this. And that was the thing. We got this. No matter what happens, we got this. So even as my children, my daughters are 21 years old now, it's always been a we got this. So what makes me nerdy gangsta, I say, is the realization that even from a 4-year-old girl, that 4-year-old girl who lost her mother, the great I am always had his hand, that connection, and that anything that I do, anything that happens, he is there to guide it. And all the people who would say, if you look at the statistics, like, you shouldn't be, you should be this, you should be crazy or on drugs or whatever, or unsuccessful, not a single parent, whatever the case may be, that I should have a situation of lack. But the fact that I do not, by the grace of God and that great I am, that I feel like is what I draw from every day. And that's why, because for a long time when I get to the why, I feel like why I wrote on my mirror, I am loved, because I used to have this struggle with the Lord about, who does this? Like, what creator does this to a child? And so, and that's why I think he, and I, whatever creation or higher being or power you relate to, or whatever religion, I think that you have to be able to tap into that source, because he had to make me, under those circumstances, feel that I was loved regardless. And so that's why on my mirror, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I see is that I am loved, and that I know I am who I am. And then so when you see me, that's what comes forth, is that not only that I'm so, confident in myself, but I'm confident in that creator, because he has sustained me this long.
Wow.
Wow. Very good.
Never knew.
Exactly.
Never knew.
I don't want to go next, but I just wanted to say something about what you said. So I have a little sign above my TV in my bedroom so I can see it straight ahead. But it says, Mitras, go get your stuff. That's a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
good.
Might as well finish, Mitras.
Okay, so and I'm a little shy with all of this. So when Shelby asked me, I was thinking, what is it that she's seeing me that makes her think that, I am a nerdy gangster, and all night last night I was trying to think, what am I going to say? I know my life, that makes it easy to say, but at the same time, my prayer was that the Lord would lead me to say the right words, so it may bless someone else, but my name is Demetrius, and I'm from Alabama, but we grew up, my parents came here to Detroit My dad had gotten a job with GM, so that's how we ended up in Detroit. I grew up in Delray. If anybody know Delray, yay. That was the gangster in me. So as time went on, my parents moved to the west side, and I had my mom and my dad. My dad was a drinker pretty much, and so we kind of lived that life growing up. You know, it wasn't always very nice for my mother and everything. And I think that was kind of hard growing up and having to deal with all of those things. And now I don't have my mother, so as time goes by, we see all the stories that my mother has went through, you know, which makes it really hard. Find out how she had been treated, things like that. I do still have my dad, which is a blessing. But by birth, I am an artist. I love to draw, I paint, I create anything you can think of. I'm trying to put my hands to it. And most of the time I'm working with children with different things at church. You know, outside of that I do face painting, all type of things. So I just love working with children. I love being able to be an impact in their lives. I have children myself, a daughter and a son who is a blessing to me. I don't really know what to say. I have had some things happen. I was married once. I lived in Germany for 1.5 years, which was a really good experience. And then, you know, coming back to the States, trying to start school, and then my babies came along. So. But so far, I've just lived life. But one thing for sure that I know is that I love God. I've made the decision to live for Him. I cannot do without Him. That's my life. It's everything. And so through any challenges that I've had, which I have had, God has always brought me through it, you know, and here I am today.
Well, I could tell you, my story started as a young woman, a young girl, not a young woman, a young girl. And it's funny, as a little girl, I, believe it or not, I got teased a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I cried a lot as a little girl. And some of the things that I got teased about, one was my eyes. And it's funny, as an adult, isn't that strange, right? As an adult, folks could look at you and say, you have some pretty eyes. But I literally got teased about them when I was a little girl. And I cried. I got teased about my name, my first and my middle name. And so I remember my mother, who was a very strong woman. I remember her being kind of concerned about me. And I remember her talking to her parents, my grandparents, about, you know, what's going on, because I grew up with, it was like seven cousins. It was 7 of us total, and even my cousins teased me a lot, you know. But it's one of those things that kids do what kids do. It doesn't make it right, but they do it, and you always feel like you're the one that's getting teased the most, so to speak. And I'm sure that wasn't the case, but you know, at the time it actually felt like it. And so I remember my grandparents telling my mother, don't worry about it, she'll learn to fight back, you know. So, because sometimes, you know, kids got physical too, and I just didn't want to fight. I was like timid and unassuming, you know. And so they just told my mother, just give it some time, she'll learn to fight back. Well, lo and behold, they were right. Not only did I learn to fight back, physically, which of course it wasn't about that. The real transition truly came when I began to realize that folks that tease, bully, pick on, it's because they're struggling with some self-esteem within themselves, even as children, and we don't realize that, and it's not dealt with accordingly. So what happens is a lot of those children grow up to be bullies in the workplace. You know, they do the same thing as they get older if it's not dealt with, or if someone is not kind of dealing with the situation as it goes, you know. So it's funny because, fast forward till today, right? And understanding where my love for the underdog comes from. And I kind of think that's the way that comes from, just being that underdog, being that person back then. And so now, in the workplace, it's like, and not just in the workplace, because even in the community as well. If there's something going on in the community, I want to be there. If it's something that's feeding the hungry or whatever the case may be. But more specifically, I am that person who, if I take notice of someone that's overlooked, mistreated, going back to what Julia was saying as far as school, I went to school for accounting, and I remember being in college for accounting and realizing I was probably like a junior by this time, saying, I do not want to do this. This is boring, you know. But at the same time, that perseverance didn't allow me to stop. You know, it was difficult, but I didn't want to give up on it because two things. It was boring. I wanted to stop. I wanted to change my major because it was boring, but I didn't want to give up on it because I felt like if I gave up on it, then I was giving up on it because it was too hard. So I stuck it out. So even now, I'm going to take a quick sidebar. Even now, when I hear parents say, try to force their children to stick with a major, I'm like, don't do that to them if they really want to change it. So anyway, now I'm in engineering, which is a male-dominated field. Most of us know that. And so being in that field, I am respected, you know, for what I bring to the table. And the reason why is because I don't compromise, because I do dig deep. You know, it's because it's the nerdy gangster in me, if you will, you know, come in early, stay late.
Yes.
Not because I have to, because I choose to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so my mother, going back to her, and I remember the position that I have now, it was a very new position for me when my mom took sick. And my mom truly was my very best friend. You know, and so one of the things that she taught me along the way, going back to a young girl, and just as I got into, you know, going into teenage years, and then of course young adult, and as an adult, to be 100% authentically, unapologetically me, period. And so that's something that she stood for. That's something that's who she was, and that's something that she embedded in me. And so with that being said, it doesn't mean that we don't grow, because when you talk about spirituality, it's all about the spiritual maturity that even allow us to have that boldness, that not as we only as we walk, you know, just generally speaking, but especially in the workplace, but just, you know, just having that boldness and realizing I am who I am, you know what I mean? And so one of the things when you're in a field, when you're in predominantly males or what have you, and I say that really not gender, because sometimes, you know, I don't allow myself to be intimidated. I think about the person that I was versus the person that I am now, you know what I mean? So I don't allow myself to be intimidated by anyone just because they know more than I do or know something that I don't. Let me just say that. You know what I mean? I have learned, and because of that push, I used to like be very hard on myself, and praise God that that's not the case anymore, meaning I've learned to give myself permission to not know, because it's not about proving something to anyone but myself, right? We're not in competition with anybody but ourselves, you know what I mean? And so give myself permission to not know something. Just don't give myself permission to stay there, to stay in that place, you know what I mean? And also, don't get caught up in the status quo. And then my mother taught me about my uniqueness. And I so thank God, even my name, I love it. My full name, I go by Sean, just because it's easier, and there's a story behind that too, but we don't have time for it. But my full name is Shanquitha, so that's you know, that's my first name, my given name. And so my mother taught me to love that name and love myself, and I do. And so you can mispronounce it, and it's okay, but you don't get an opportunity to make fun of it, because we all know sometimes with our names, folks want to know. I stop it. I don't care who you are and where we are. I need you to respect my name, and if you can't say it or don't attempt to say it correctly, then I'm gonna need you to say Sean, and that's okay, you know. So, but anyway, you know, through that, just growing up, and so I realize now, even back then, looking back on it, I think I cried so much then that now folks are like, "Can you cry?" You know, I cried all the tears out. No, I'm serious, still didn't cry. But seriously, looking back on that, I realized that that was all part of the purpose and the plan that God had for my life in order for me to be the woman that I am today. So, and it helps me not just to be humble, but also to understand what other folks are going through. Because we don't even realize how much as adults, people are suffering because they are literally trying to be someone that they're not, or be a person that someone else is dictating that they should be. And many times it's all in the name of a paycheck, you know. So it's not about, you gotta teach people, it's just not about that, because you're so much bigger than that paycheck, and you're so much more than that paycheck, and that we gotta know that God put us here to change the atmosphere. So while we're talking about the word, you know, we are the salt of the earth. So he didn't give us that for no reason at all. You know what I mean? So for me, being nerdy gangsta, I have decided, and I choose to change the atmosphere wherever I go. And even, you know, and especially in the workplace, you know, because you've got so many people who really get up every day to go do a job that they spend quite a bit of hours in that they don't enjoy. And I know God has a bigger plan for me once I leave the corporation. But for right now, that's my gift, is allowing others to bring out the best, and helping others to bring out the best in themselves. And then also to help others see their self-worth. And just by doing that, those simple things, because to me that's simple, because that's God. You know what I'm saying? We serve a big God, you know, and he made us. And that's why I say it's simple, because he made you. So he gave you a gift. And that gift is not to be stagnated by what somebody else say or dictate you to be, you know what I mean? But just by helping people just see how impactful they can be and see their own gifts, it changes the atmosphere. And I don't care what it is that they do. They can get up and come to work every day, and I don't care if you're making $20,000 a year versus $120,000 a year. You can enjoy what you do right now while you're in the present. So while you are who you are today, because I am today, but I am becoming something else tomorrow. Right. You know, so that's my story.
All right.
So what was the first thing I said to you? I gave you a compliment.
On my eyes. So that's how when she get my story. And I mean, they tease me about these eyes, baby, as a little girl, and I cry, talk about them being slanted, and okay, so what? That's crazy. And to think back, crying about that though, you know what I mean? That's funny.
I think you mentioned that
They
too,
do.
didn't you?
Yes, I do teach them eyes.
Really?
Well, I guess I will tell my story. Like Shelby said, life sometimes just happens. Going about my life. Was in college, got pregnant, had to come home, had my first son. Thought that was the end of the world for me because my mom and dad had high expectations of me, and I was failing the expectations of what they had of me. Had my baby, got a good job, was working. My mom always all my friends were like, oh, you have a baby now, you can get food stamps, you can get this, and my mom was like, no, whoever told you that, you're not doing any of that. So, like, I had to went behind her back, and she's like, no, you're gonna mail that check back to them. So, you know, I was kind of like,
I'm playing.
okay, so I was working, got pregnant again 3 years later. Mama was really devastated. Fast forward, had the boys. One day, me and my mom were having a conversation, and she was just telling me she was disappointed in me because I had 2 kids, and they were gonna be like it was gonna be for her. Like, you know, most people think that you're gonna leave your kids on to the grandparent, and so we discussed this and everything, and I kind of was like, no. So I made it my mission not to raise my children. My mom called for my kids. I didn't say, hey, I'm going out, hey, she called. So 2011, my mom died. I went, we battled cancer for first she didn't even tell me till she went through chemo by herself, and then when she was time for radiation, she told me. Like, the day she told me, I was just devastated. It was on my birthday. We were talking, and she was just like, oh, and by the way, I start radiation on this day. And I'm like, what? Like, so, like, that's when life really, really hit me. Fast forward, she started the radiation. It didn't work. We went to the hospital. She passed. In the meantime of her passing, I was off on FMLA helping her, you know, do everything. I come back to work. All of this stuff has happened. 2 girls don't get along, and they're like, hey, can you move to this department because they don't get along and we want you to work here, and they're going to work here. Fine. It gives me something else to put on my resume. I'll do it. Move over. End up getting terminated wrongfully. End up going with the battle through that, trying to fight that. I actually made it through that. That's the only thing I can really say. In that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm not working for anybody. Like, I felt so betrayed. I worked for this company for like 10 years. So I felt so betrayed. I'm like, I'm not working for anybody ever. And that was just, so at that time because I was laid off, off of this job, I was getting unemployment. But when my mother passed, I got some money. So I'm like, okay, let me do something. So I was presented the opportunity to go to Lansing and listen to this meeting. And I'm like, okay. In the midst of me going to Lansing, the person that presented the opportunity wanted me to be like the forefront of their fraud. In the middle of it, they're like telling me this story, and I'm like, well, what's the person's name that you're talking about? It was the person that sent me to listen to the meeting to open my business up for them to be in the back. Me and my dad went with me. Me and my dad look at each other, and I'm like, so my dad's like, don't worry, because I'm at this point, I want to leave. My dad's like, no, we're going to stay, we're going to listen. We stay, we listen, and my dad's like, oh, you can do this. So my dad helps me do everything. I'm running for 4 years, doing great. My dad dies. My daddy is like, I love both my parents, but my daddy is like my everything. Like, so this is like really hard. In the middle of, well, he doesn't even die yet. My dad gets sick. In the middle of him getting sick, trying to make it, his wife leaves him, divorces him, so I'm fighting that. In the middle of that, my son gets hit by a car. So I'm fighting my dad and I'm going through chemo and radiation or whatever with my dad. I'm going to court to fight for him to get his divorce done. My son is sick, so I'm going to court for that. I'm taking him to physical therapy. I'm taking him to everything. And I'm running my business. I'm still running my business. Then my dad dies. And it was like, nope, I don't know what you're doing, God, but this is too much. Like I was just like, why are you doing, like, I really was so angry at God. I really was. It was like, why are you took my mom, you took my dad. Like, why? So, it was just too much for me. So, I ended up closing down because it was too much. I had to go get a job. I got a job at where I work now, and when you close down, because I voluntarily closed down, so when you close down, you have to stay closed for like 18 months. So I got like sidetracked, like comfortable where I'm at or whatever. So I said no. I'm proud to say today. Oh no, so I have to say this. So those the two boys I had, I will say today they are both in Ohio right now in college. I raised them. And now in March I go to my meeting again. I have to go to the meeting again. And I'm opening back up in April. And but that was just all of that. I feel like, I don't feel like I'm an gangster because I feel like it was so much that I do feel like God helped me through all of that because it's no way. Like literally when my mom died, I was laying next to her. When my dad died, before he died, he had 20 seizures right in my face. And I was like, they were like, well, he's in hospice, so just keep him comfortable. And I'm like, he's had 21 now. At what point do I keep keeping him comfortable? So like, I think after the 25th seizure, the ambulance came and got him. So like, I feel like if whoever didn't believe in God or never thought it was a God, all of that, for me to still be standing here today, I'm opening back up. I got my boys through college. And it's nothing but God. I don't see any other answer for it. Wow. That's my story.
Wow.
Yes. I will say this though. Praise God for his strength. But at the end of the day, we still have to do the work.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I say that to say, don't not give yourself credit. Give God the credit, no doubt. He deserved it.
And I was
But
bad
you
at doing that.
yes, and you persevere. And we have to learn to do that because he wants us to do that. It's almost as if it's some disrespect to him because he made you. And he made you to be able to withstand that. It's, another word tells us, he will not put any more on us than we can bear. And I know people look at that scripture different, and that's okay. But he allowed you to go through it because he knew you could handle it. You didn't fold. And you could have folded. You know, so thank God for his strength and thank God for him being the head. But don't discredit yourself because that's spiritual maturity as well. So that's perseverance. It is. And I can relate. I went through with my mom for like a year and a half. And like I said, she's the strongest woman I know. She was the strongest woman I knew. And when I looked down at her and I realized she was staying alive because I wouldn't let her go. And when I realized that, it broke my heart because I said, I'm sorry. You've been hanging on because I haven't let you go. So I had to apologize for that. But I went through the doctors trying to get me to take her off all kind of machines. And I said, no, God didn't give me, I didn't give her life. So therefore I can't take it. So we're not going to take it from her. We're going to let God do what he's going to do. You know, but at the same time, I had to learn, I had to let her go. And at that time for me, I had just gotten a new position. So it was, you know, trying to learn this very new position that I didn't know and take care of her. And she was first. I was going to take care of her. But I used to, you know, I was at the hospital or whatever, you know, rehab facilities she was in every single day, 2-3 times a day. And, you know, when I go in the morning at 6 and I'm leaving for work, you know, she just look up at me and give me that look. And I say, well, you taught me to be like this. I got to take care of myself. I'll be back. You taught me to do this, for, you know. So, I just don't want you to take that from yourself. That's all. So, yeah.
And that kind of goes back to what you were saying too, Julia. Like,
I was just gonna say because Sean when she said something clicked, and then when Sean just said something, so you know that thought like totally left my brain. No, I think I know what it was. I think when you said that when you're the part about being angry at God, and I love it because I had this conversation with a younger girl, you know, because when especially if you were brought up in a church and religion, you know, it's like, you're mad at God, you know, you know, don't let it be like an old school church person, you going to hell, like you know, so we were talking and she was like, I just don't know. She's like, I'm angry. And I said, you know what? You know, I think if we all are honest, we've been through phases where, you know, we don't have foresight that he has. So, of course, I mean, in my feelings, I could be in my feelings and be angry too. But he knows me. Back to I am. If I am who I am, he definitely knows who I am. And he knows that this level of pressure is going to bring out certain types of feelings for me. And so, and that kind of piggybacks on your a lesson that I had to learn about. I used to hate when people say he would not put on you more than you can bear. I mean, it used to make me upset. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, this is not normal kind of thing. And so one day I used to I have a desk in my basement. It's my little zen area. As my kids call it. And my girls call it, I keep calling them kids and they're 21. But where I go, and that's where I have to go to be centered. And I have a picture on the wall that just says be still. So it came to me that one day it was something, and it probably was nothing major, but, you know, I was like, listen here, it probably was something at work. That's probably when it was really bad. And I was like, listen here, I can walk up out of here and be good, you know. But that a lot of times when we feel like we can't bear it is because it's not his intention for us to bear it. We won't release it. And so for me, like, and that was like, that's my word, like calm and release. When especially if I can't sleep, that's the word that I say, calm, release, because that's what he means. He doesn't put any more than you can bear, but you have to be willing to release it to let him bear it for you.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And so that's part of the lesson. Like, you know, where we're all like, I'm about to lose my mind up in here. You know, it's like, yeah, because you probably need to sit your little cell phone down and let him take control. So that, and then, you know, and me being a type A person, living up control is not my strong suit, but. You know, in those regards, I think that he puts the press on or allows the pressure to be put on to teach you to release.
Yes, that's a great point. That's a great follow-up. Thank you. And that's why I say so many people look at that scripture different, because I heard a pastor, you know, say something to the point where it's not you, but you're still the vessel, you know what I mean, that is happening to, you know, so to speak. But like you said, that's a great point to bring it on home. So good. Yes, still lean on him.
Oh, and I have to just say one thing I just forgot. I didn't really tell you guys what I do. So, what I do is help pregnant moms. And the reason this was passionate for me is because I was a single mother and I had 2 kids, and I went back to school. I have my bachelor's degree. I have my own business, and I want mothers to know, like, you don't have to say, you don't even have to, like, it's okay that you get on government assistance. You don't have to stay there. You can overcome that. You don't have to be stuck in that mindset. Thank God my mom was like, no to me, because, you know, telling her which way I would do. But I actually have my own business. When my boys were 3, I went back to school and I got my degree. So it's kind of like, I want to help other women see that you can be more than what, because you have kids, that doesn't define you, and that doesn't stop where your, you know, where your path can go, your purpose.
Where you are today is not where you need to be.
Yeah, shifting that vision.
Yeah.
I know. I was just telling her, and you have a beautiful daughter.
But that, I mean, oh my God, you guys are just bringing it. I mean, this is so, I'm getting like tingles. Because, I mean, you're right. That's, for some people, it could have been something that could have paralyzed them. But, like you said, the I am, we know we have that, the great I am. But because we have that, we are, and we find our strength in that. And so knowing that, and kind of what you were saying, and not discounting the strength that he gives us, because we do play a role in you know, in the situation, and that's where the nerdy gangster comes in. He gives us that.
He does.
Right?
But each person has to find that.
You have to find that. And isn't that the key? Finding it, right? Because when you're going through it,
It's
Yes.
a different
It's
point
a
in our lives.
journey.
Yeah.
when you're going through it, you're like you were saying, I don't want to hear.
Don't send me no
Don't.
That's that wisdom come in that too, though, you know. But it's funny because, and seriously, because we've all heard it, right? Without our situations, without our journey, we don't know how much we've grown. You know what I mean? And we don't even know how faithful or how trusting in God we really are until a situation comes along, and then it's almost like a reminder to us, because we could say it all day, and then let something happen, and you like, oh, okay, I thought I trusted you, but obviously I didn't. You know what I mean? But those situations help us to see just how much we've grown. And you know, you think about some of the songs. If he did it before, he could do it again. You know?
Yes.
That's right.
Wow.
Miss Jamie.
I'm like, hi.
And let me say this real quick. Okay, they say diamonds are a girl's best friend, right? You heard that?
Yes.
How does that diamond get made?
It's
Pressure.
Pressure.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's a dark lump of coal, but that pressure is what makes it that precious, valuable jewel that's strong.
That's awesome.
You know, and so that's what we are. That we went through the pressure. We're going through the pressure.
Yeah.
It's not over with.
It's not over with.
Keep
but-
living.
Yeah, shine you up every now and
Shine-
then.
you know, polished up a little bit, but we are diamonds. We are being polished, and just in this process. And so, look, and I said that, I thought about that as I looked over at Jamie and her bling bling.
Like, where's she going?
Right.
You know, Cheryl, we keep coming out the box over there. Coming out left pocket, right, left pocket, back pocket.
But I know, Miss Jamie, now you have a powerful story.
My story is like, wow. Well, let's just say I'm the baby of 4, the oldest of 16. So I'm my mother's baby.
Wow.
My father's oldest.
Okay.
I grew up with a single mother that was on drugs, on welfare, projects. In Hawaii, where being black didn't even exist. It was me and my best friend in elementary, and we were the only 2 black girls.
Wow.
And I'm black, Filipino, Portuguese. My mother is not even black. Saying that, my granddaddy retired He's from Michigan. My mom dropped me off on my grandparents' door at 14, the summer of me turning 14. I've been here ever since, 39. Within that time, growing up, trying to fit in, because I lived everywhere, from Hawaii to Virginia to Washington, D.C. to never fit in. I never fit in. I was too yellow for the black girl with long hair. I was too dark for the white girls I went to school with. So I never knew who Jamie was. So I believed what everybody else said who I was. I lived that life for a long time. My teenage years, I wanted everything fast. Fast, fast, fast. That's my oldest daughter, sitting across the table. I had Sierra at 21. She saved me. I did a whole 360. I didn't want nothing fast anymore. The way I seen, I was with our father from 17 to 33. Recently, 5 years I've been divorced. 2 years, going on 3 years now. I left. I left with 3 kids, $300 in my savings. I've been at Donna Sachs from 99 to 2017, which we all know it's just a retail store. I never got on anything, no assistance, no anything. In the midst of me leaving my ex-husband, my mother got sick. She fought this disease for almost 40 years. So not only am I now 33 with 3 little kids, walked away from everything, now I have to take care of my dying mother. Mind you, I said I was the baby. The other 3, nowhere around. It was me and my kids, and as you talk about, you used to go to the nursing homes and the hospitals, and that was my life. I laid on many hospital floors, and yes, at one point I was in the middle of the hospital floor. I can remember crying and saying I hate him. And I hated God, because how did I have everything? I had the house, I had the cars, I had a white picket fence, I had 3 kids that was happy. I had a dog. I had it to now I don't have anything, and now the person that I depended on most is laying in the bed dying. My son at the time was 6, 7. My mom is hooked up to all the machines. My oldest daughter used to just go in the room and sit in the corner. I'm on the floor, falling out. My son used to go up and just hold her and start praying.
Glory.
He never cried. He was never sad. The whole time, it didn't matter if it was there an hour or 5 hours. He never left her arm. Wow. This went on. My mother was hospitalized 17 months straight. I brought my mother home to my 3 kids in a townhouse. We turned my townhouse into a living room. My mother couldn't walk. She had a wound. She had a colostomy bag. Mind you, I still had to work because I wasn't getting no help. Their father wasn't no assistant at all at this time, none at all. He was doing him, which is fine. It was me and my 3 kids. My 7-year-old was changing my mom's womb. My 13-year-old daughter, 15, Sierra, when he was going into high school, where she's walking into high school, and here she is. My mom used to flip out in the middle of the night, scream. And Sierra got to the point where she would just sleep downstairs because she never wanted me to get up, because she knew I had to get up to go to work, to get everybody started. Me not realizing my daughter is up all night with my mother, and here I am in the morning forcing her to go to school. So not realizing all the pressure that I felt it, she also had.
Right.
Within saying that, my mother passed away a year and a half ago. It shook my world. It shook me to the core. The whole year, I didn't have no fear. I didn't care. I didn't want to love. I hated. I was ugly. I was mean. And one day I just woke up, and I always wanted to inspire other women because my marriage, it was abusive, physical, mental, and I survived. So I would love to share my story to help other women know that you can do it on your own and hold it and be very strong. So it's like I woke up one day and it was just the voice of, okay, now you got to get your B-Fly going. B-Fly, which stands for butterfly, because I believe all women are butterflies. Like at the end of the day, we turn into a butterfly. Which I turned that into fly, and fly, which is first love yourself. And that is something that I had to learn to do. Because I couldn't love my kids. I thought I was loving my kids, and I gave my kids everything. But I wasn't loving me. But now that I've learned to love myself, I see everything so different. It's just different. So I'm on the path of that.
Yes. Right.
That's awesome.
I still deal with every day. I mean, I'm still a single parent. I have an 18-year-old. I have one soon to be, her sister soon to be 15. So whatever she's doing, the other one wants to do. I have a 11-year-old son that doesn't want to listen to none of the girls in the house because he's the man of the house.